Meh.
Zoo.
This is gold, platinum,
Different kinds of metals.
uranium,
Heavy metals.
iron,
Isn't it ironic?
lead.
You've led us down a bad path here. Oh, hi there.
I'm North Kozar,
And I'm Quactical.
and this is Tune Into Gaming.
Tune.
Yo.
Yeah. Vroom, vroom. Chugga, 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 chugga. Is that the sound that a car makes?
Yeah, actually, I think that's...
Apparently, I wouldn't know. You know, my car has been in the shop after all. I guess that's really what I've been up to. At least yesterday. The AC compressor went out.
Oh, no.
And apparently that's like super attached to the engine, so it could have potentially done bad things to the engine too. So that's no good. And it's California, so I probably need AC. Yeah. But it was making a very strange noise. It was kind of terrifying.
What kind of noise was it making?
Like a whining, grinding thing, rattle.
Could I get like an audio representation of that noise?
Not really.
No? Okay.
No.
It was worth a shot, right?
I was going to make a fool of myself, but I realized, maybe I still have a little bit of dignity left. Like most of it's gone.
No, none. It's all out the window.
Most of it's gone, but there's still some left. And, I really just want to hold on to that.
Hold on to that dignity. Da-da-dow.
Do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do.
Is that something that you can, like, you're going to be able to get fixed? Is it still, like, drivable? Or?
Oh, yeah. I get it back on Monday. I just have to pay some money.
Oh, okay,
Cash.
cool.
Money, cash. Cash money. Holla, holla. Get dollar taken away from you.
Well, but it'll be like they know for sure that that's the thing, and it's not going to be one of those instances where you're like, fix this, and then you get it, and then you're like, this is still not working. Or like this other thing is wrong. They're like, this is the problem. We'll fix it. It'll be good.
No, apparently it was very obviously that thing because it was like making a noise and a rattle because of a ball bearing.
Oh, gotcha. Well, that's good that they know exactly what it is because
they have a bearing on the solution. They're on the ball.
Those were good. I mean, those were spot on. So, what have you been playing?
I've been playing a little bit of Overwatch, actually. I've been enjoying that quite a bit. Most people are aware of Overwatch. It's Blizzard's hero shooter.
Didn't it get some award? Didn't it get like GameSpot or IGN's Game of the Year or something, I think?
I don't really know.
What's like one of your favorite things about Overwatch?
I think just some of the characters that I find really fun.
Yeah.
I definitely am drawn to just like wanting to play those characters, especially I would say Anna, Diva, and like Soldier 76. Just because I feel like they can provide so much just like consistent impact to how the game's going and how like the team fights happen. That I feel like I'm like always doing something, and that's like really fun.
Yeah. I think it's really cool how for, a character-based shooter game, TF2 kind of style, how the characters are truly characters and they have like backstory and personality. Like,
yeah.
Yeah, I think that's something that's really neat and kind of unique. I mean, TF2, the characters have personalities, but it's more like enigmatic of a personality, like representative
it's not like,
of the class.
if you're playing Call of Duty online, you don't get the same level of like character interaction pre-game, right?
Right.
Whereas in Overwatch, it is really cool how like Anna will interact with Reinhardt and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, the unique like voice clips that'll play and stuff. I really think that it would be cool for them to make a movie using these characters. Like,
they have all the shorts. Yeah.
Yeah, they could totally do like a full feature thing. I mean, they did a Warcraft movie, so why not?
In general, like video game movies have been bad, but that's usually because it's like non-video game people who end up making them if they're like Hollywood movies. Whereas I feel like if it was still made by, the people who made Overwatch, or at least, Blizzard, it's at least, related enough to them so they know what they're doing with their own IP, right?
Well, yeah, they clearly have the animation capabilities to do it. They would just need more people to work on it, which I don't know if that's something that they care about or are interested in, but I would definitely go and watch that.
They seem to be going the eSports route in some ways. They have the Overwatch League coming up, which is supposed to be like a city-based professional league, which is kind of interesting. Which is more modeled after, traditional sports leagues, right?
Right, yeah, as opposed to the is it country or like,
yeah, I mean, some other games, it's just basically like whoever forms a team, you can just enter yourself into tournaments.
oh, gotcha.
Which honestly, I think coming from a little bit of the older realm of like competitive games, I like that model a little bit better. I like the open model as opposed to like a league system. Because gaming originally, and especially you're thinking about the freedom of the internet, right? It was all about just you can go on to like a server and like play around and see who's the best, right?
Yeah.
And having that be like an open experience, I think is something that was really valuable. Whereas, and so I think there's something that's lost when you go to like a closed league franchised system, right? Where like only a certain number of teams can enter the tournaments, and even if like some of those like casual teams never ever make it to the later stages of the tournament, the fact that they're like anyone can enter a tournament, like in Smash, for example, in a lot of these lands, that's possible. I just think that's really cool.
That would be fun. I mean, I don't think I'm ever going to be a professional gamer in any regard, but it would be still fun to enter tournaments and get to play.
And just
I know that,
go to play, and then it's like, oh, the winner of the city. I mean, if it's like regionally based, but it's not like a franchised league, I really like it because then it's like, oh, the winner of the city then plays the winner of like the state, then plays the winner of the country, then plays the winner of the world. Like then you can play within your own tier, and then it's everyone gets that cool competitive experience. But you don't have to
domination,
right? But you don't have to have this like $1 billion infrastructure for that to be the case.
Just people enjoying playing a game and wanting to beat the best, like
and
no
I
one
think
ever was.
Those are the aspects of it that I enjoy. Whereas like I'm somewhat less enthused about, the massive, like it's just like real sports now. Like I don't really care about that element of it.
Yeah. It is weird to have like CS:GO on cable TV.
Yeah.
Like
I mean, it's cool.
It is cool. It's cool that we've gotten to that point, but I don't know. I think that I'm maybe still it's weird kind of bridging that gap between like this is a competitive game and this is a sport, like put on the same pedestal as professional sports are, just because I think that I have some issues with the professional sports infrastructure and model in and of itself anyway.
Right.
So I kind of worry seeing that the eSports thing kind of follow in those steps.
I think you really nailed it when you said pedestal.
Yeah.
And I think that's what happens with the professional or the traditional sports scene is that, the players and just the sports themselves are put on this pedestal. Like, they have such importance to our society. And I think that's why competitive gaming, I came into it thinking about it as competitive gaming, not esports.
Right.
But I think the reason that it's always tried to model itself after traditional sports is because of that like pedestal that society places traditional sports upon, right? They want a piece of that like prestige pie. Mm-hmm. It's very tasty. It's made of all the right ingredients, and you get a lot of money for getting a taste of that prestige pie, right?
Yeah, there is a lot of money involved.
Right, prestige pie. I'm like picturing like a pie now. Damn it, I want pie. So anyway, I just think that something is lost when you go to like a closed system in some ways because of that.
Yeah, I can definitely see what you mean by that. And it's hard to say exactly how things will pan out. I think one of the big incentives for doing that is, like we have said, that there's a lot of money involved and it sells the game. And it just it is a very money driven thing. And so like in that regard, I get it. But it sort of is like, to what extent do you sacrifice the integrity of something for the money? And where do you draw that line? It's kind of hard to tell sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a natural part of the growth in some ways. Like the infrastructure did have to change. There are millions and millions of people who are watching these games. So if you had open entry tournaments on the internet like that were officially sponsored, then you'd have millions and millions of people entering them. So you have to like change the system in some ways. And like you said, it is a financial decision at the end of the day. Blizzard or any company who owns an esports game, they have to, adhere to their bottom line, and they have to make sure that they're getting their return on the existence of the esports ecosystem for their game, right? They produce the game that allows that ecosystem to exist. So, to a certain extent, they do have a right to a share of that.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And so it's like, it definitely is their prerogative to like monetize and make sure that they're making money off of the existence of that ecosystem. So it's really hard to draw the line between, you know, where have you sacrificed too much? Because, you know, it is just a very blurry world, right?
It is, and I think that that's something that's so subjective as well. Like,
right.
To some people, it's like, you know, sports are great. The people who play the sports are super important, and it's not saying that they aren't, but it is in that subjective nature that someone is going to view something differently. Like, I mean, I would enjoy watching like competitive Overwatch or competitive Rocket League or something like that. I think it would be fun, but I can't necessarily say that I'm going to get really involved in the players' lives and how they train and how they practice and, you know, that personal aspect of the individual people who play, much like I enjoy watching like football, but I'm not necessarily very involved in the specific players themselves. And that's kind of my own approach to it. But someone else is going to have a very different one where they're like, yeah, that's cool, but I care about like these specific people and sort of how their lives are playing out. And it's more kind of like a personal approach to these stars in that way. So it's, you know, it is a subjective approach in terms of whether you're looking at it as like, this is this money-making thing, you know, they're ruining the game, or whether you're like, this is a really cool opportunity to make gaming mainstream and make it more approachable, which, you know, I think that's kind of part of the cool part, because like video games are on TV now. Like, can you imagine thinking about that like 5-10 years ago? Oh, people are watching other people play video games on like national television. What? I mean, at least for America.
That reaction still exists. But I guess does. What I would like to see is you know, esports. I understand that the growth is necessary and like changes to infrastructure are necessary in that sense. But I would just like to see those decisions be made for what's best for competitive gaming, not because of, you know, an adherence to what traditional sports did. Because what's going to work for video games isn't necessarily what worked for traditional sports.
That's true.
I think that's kind of my main fear about it, is that, you know, in an effort to try to be mainstream, they're going to sacrifice too much to a point where then it's going to lose its relevance because it loses kind of the core of what made it cool in the first place, right? You know, if you lose the soul too much, then suddenly, like you reach a certain point and then it completely goes to shit, right? That's what we see happening with like a lot of franchises, right? You know, they have enough to keep going for a while, and then at a certain point, it's just like what made the original good is completely gone, and at that point, there's like no point anymore.
Yeah.
Point.
Point and point with the point on the point.
Yeah.
But I think what you're saying is very on point.
I'm making pointed comments about this particular point.
It'll be interesting, and I agree. I think that esports and the competitive gaming scene is very interesting, and it is still very new. And I'm curious to see where it goes, and I definitely hope that it's something that continues, and I hope that it continues in a way that is good for the scene and the players and everyone that's involved with it, and that it doesn't become something that is too much of a cash-in, you know, just because gaming is big and the people that are going to be involved are going to want to try and make it bigger. And to think about like the infrastructure of like the National Football League or something of that scope, you know, I don't know that esports will get to that point, but I worry, kind of like what you were saying, that they're trying to get to that point. Like that's their focus, as opposed to making like competitive gaming something that's cool and fun and approachable and building like a community around that. It's sometimes I think that would be my fear with it, I guess, is that they're trying to hit that mark. Yeah,
and it's like at that point, then you could get growth for the wrong reasons, and you get the wrong kind of growth. You get unsustainable growth.
Also, to touch on my thing earlier, Overwatch received the 2016 Game of the Year award at the 2016 Game Awards.
Oh, interesting. So, yeah, I mean, it's been massive. It's had massive success. There are millions and millions and millions of people playing it. And it's pretty good. It's pretty good. Yeah, I've also been playing a little bit of Darkest Dungeon. Been streaming a little bit, actually. Quick plug. You can check me out on Twitch TV/Quactical.
Yeah, it's a pretty good stream to watch if you like watching adventurers like go insane and battle against unspeakable odds. I think Darkest Dungeon is definitely going to be one of those games that I don't think I'm ever going to get into, but I do enjoy watching it just because it's really interesting to see things unfold.
Yeah, so you definitely get that like narrative experience. You know, and as a community, that's kind of cool.
You get attached to the characters, or I get attached to the characters
with glue. There's lots of glue.
So I recently got a HDMI capture device, and so I've been revisiting some of my Wii U games, and I was testing my capture device a few days ago and started playing Mario Maker to test it, and I forgot how fun making Mario levels is. And I mean, I'm definitely someone who really just enjoys making stuff, creating levels, creating content in that way.
I mean, but that sounds awesome.
It's so great, and it's definitely something that I'm gonna do some streams of myself, just because I think it would be cool to build a level and get to interact with people. And I know that a lot of, well, not necessarily direct ideas, but like inspiration for levels comes from watching other people build them and kind of talking to them and hearing what their level design choices are and the reasoning behind that. Because everyone kind of approaches things differently. Some are like, we're going to make this platformer level that's going to have these specific challenges, and they approach it in sort of like a step, like you complete this challenge and now you're on to challenge 2 or challenge 3. And I kind of approach a lot of my level design with more of a conceptual lens. So I think of like, okay, you've been playing through these levels and you get to the last one, and now this is like the ship that has had all of the enemies on it. So it's like a big storage ship, and you go inside and you're trying to get through the ship to, you know, defeat Bowser or whoever is the end of the level. But like the look and the feel of the level is just as important as the introduction of the challenge elements. So I really approach it like to have the level be functional and challenging, but to look and feel like, you know,
interesting.
Yeah, to look and be like, hey, you're in a jungle, or hey, you're on a ship that is being used to store a bunch of things. And so like in this level that I was working on, I've got a bunch of like the brick blocks that when you break them, you know, an enemy might come out of it because they're enemies that are being shipped to be dropped off to all of these other levels, kind of thing. And that's sort of the concept behind it.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily meant to be like trolly, because the blocks, you'd have to kind of like go out of your way to break them. But when you do, you're like, okay, these blocks contain enemies. Maybe I shouldn't break them. But, you know, you might find something special if you
open
take
the
boxes.
Challenge.
Yeah.
Open the boxes.
But
it's the joke in Dark Souls that like the secret final boss is the boxes, because you can roll through them and smash all of them.
Oh, really? Yeah. That's
boxes.
But yeah, Mario Maker is definitely a lot of fun, and it would be cool to kind of get to connect with other people who are really into the level design for the sake of making a level, as opposed to being like, let's stack enemies on top of each other, and does it shoot Bowsers? We're gonna make it shoot Bowsers.
So many shot Bowsers. But it definitely sounds really great for just building that community feeling into the game, right? You know, like you were saying, seeing somebody stream it and seeing their design choices, you know, it really just expands the knowledge pool of the community in general, and I think brings the community closer together.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that of course there's a Reddit page for Mario Maker, but I'm not sure what the community is like there, but it would be interesting to kind of look into that. I think that something that is really valuable, along with just, you know, playing levels that you find online, is playing them as a world. So if you just play an individual level in Mario Maker, lives basically don't matter. You die, you retry the level, and you just keep going until you beat the level. But if you play it as a world, which means you'd have to download all 4 levels in the world, and then you play it from start to end, lives do matter, and there's that grander sense of accomplishment in terms of like, I've beat the first level, but now I only have 2 lives. And so as the level designer, you kind of have to think about, well, the first level needs to introduce some of the concepts, you know, that they're going to encounter later, but it also, you kind of want to think about how much you need to pad their lives. Like, you want to make it possible. You want to, you want them to win. Like, I think that that's something that a lot of people don't think about when they're making the Mario Maker levels, where
because if they don't win, they don't see all the content.
Well, yeah, and it's the kind of thing where you should be on the player's side, because you want them to have an epic experience. You don't want them to fail and be like, well, this is just too much, I'm not good enough. You want them to feel good playing the level and eventually beating it. You want them, when they figure something out, to be like, oh, I get it now, you know, as opposed to being like, really? That's what I had to do? And I think that the approach, at least to some of the Mario Maker levels that I've seen in the past, is just like, let's make this as challenging as possible. There are definitely a lot of really good levels, a lot of super challenging platformer levels that took me many, many attempts to beat, but that are good in the sense of just like, it's a challenge. But I think I really try to make more traditional Mario levels, definitely like I mean, my first game I ever played was Super Mario World. So like,
Oh man,
I draw a lot from Super Mario World, and I love the tile set because you can make levels in Mario Maker in the tile set of Mario 1 for the Nintendo.
Oh yeah, I
Mario
remember that.
3, Super Mario World, and then the Mario for the Wii U. So you have like 4 different, essentially, frameworks within which you can work. But
That's pretty cool.
I like trying to make levels that are new and interesting, but still kind of feel like a classic Mario level without getting too crazy. So it's fun because making level is a fun challenge in and of itself, and playing through it and testing it and then making your friends play it. So I'm excited when you get all of the Wii U stuff set up and we can do some of that back and forth.
I have a potential Wii U Inc.
Yeah.
So that's going to be awesome. I'm going to hopefully get my hands on a capture device as well and maybe do some streaming. Get myself maybe some Smash, Mario Kart, Mario Maker, etc.
Yeah, definitely Smash.
That'll
cool. We need to play
really
Smash.
awesome.
I've been jonesing to play Smash so
I'm
much.
very
I mean,
excited.
it's one thing to play against the computers, but it's not fun because you can't laugh at and troll computers. I mean, honestly, you can, but you don't get the reaction that you want.
Right.
Even
when we just played on the 3DS, that was really, really fun.
That was a lot of fun. We only did that once, I think, because you were
maybe a couple times. Yeah, I mean, it wasn't mine.
Yeah, you were borrowing or whatever. But
borrowing the games.
It's
I
good
guess
stuff.
I'm borrowing the games now this time, but it'll be at my apartment, so that's really cool.
Yeah.
I was originally going to get FIFA for my PS4, but I don't know if I want to pay for the online fee, because I kind of want to do the online stuff because I never really have for FIFA because the community for the PC is so much smaller.
Oh,
but,
gotcha.
I don't know. I'm not really sure if I want to play for PS Plus because it's really the only thing I would pay online. Yeah.
Yeah, you have to do the thing. I forgot that it's not free anymore. It's kind of like Xbox Live. You gotta buy for it.
That's why PC Master Race just is PC Master Race.
Yeah, basically.
For me at this day and age, it's like if I'm gonna pay for a console subscription service, I'm going to be paying to do that for 1 or 2 games, and it just doesn't seem worth it when I could spend the same amount of money over time to buy 10 games. Well,
I remember back when I was playing on the 360 and I had Live. I mean, it was my social network. It was sort of like if you were paying for a subscription to WoW and you had all your friends on there. That was what Xbox Live was. But I also played Halo, Call of Duty, Mass Effect, there other games. I can't even remember. I've got a box of games. But like you said, it wasn't just the one thing. But there was also a big social component behind it as well. Or when we used to play RuneScape, and it was the social aspect of that as well.
Right.
I mean, I don't know if you ever did the membership, but I did for that reason. Because it was
we both did it at the same time for a little bit. But with the 360, people would hang out in the group voice chats and play single player games. Even it definitely had that social element to it.
And now we have Discord,
which is
there was a image I saw somewhere that was me at the beginning of 2016 and it had a Skype icon, and it was me at the end of 2016 and it had Discord. I was I think that's pretty accurate.
Definitely. Although we're doing this over Skype right now.
Yeah, well, yeah.
But
Skype has its uses, but for the sake of having an easy voice chat and just platform for gaming, Discord is so awesome.
Yeah, I've definitely been enjoying it. Just also kind of the persistent message hub for a group as well is pretty great.
Because we don't text at all anymore.
No.
We just message each other in Discord, and it's cool because then it's all saved and cataloged if we ever want or needed to go back, and we can pin messages and all that jazz. It's pretty nice.
I mean, we don't really need to text.
Yeah, we've got the apps on our phones, so
it's why not?
Yep.
Anyway, I was having a bit of a nostalgia trip recently. We've been talking about city builders. So one city builder that I played way back when I was a really little kid was called Pharaoh. And it was by Sierra Interactive. They also made the Caesar games. I don't know if you've heard of those at all, but anyway, it's an old school, ancient Egypt set city builder. And what was kind of cool about it is that, when you placed buildings, you had to have them connected to roads. But a lot of the town buildings, like your market, your temples, they had workers, and those workers would then end up on the roads, and they'd have random walk paths. So whenever they ended up in an intersection, they would take a random direction. So basically what you had to do is build these neighborhoods of roads, and then you could place roadblocks that prevented the random walkers from moving through them. But if somebody had a specific destination, they could still go through. So it was all about like setting up your neighborhoods in the right way so that you're like, your market who like carries your food to all the housing has like the right paths to walk, and they don't get like lost in one corner of your city, right? And like not feeding your citizens, right?
So it's kind of like guiding the AI as they walk about their path and delivering things.
Because you're sort of having to control the simulation that's happening in the city in kind of this interesting way, right? You're actually controlling the flow of traffic, which I haven't actually seen another city game like give me that same experience. So I was kind of just nostalgia tripping for it. But I definitely want to play some city builders now, because just seeing you link that Vinesauce video and like hearing people talk about it, I'm like, oh, city builders. It's definitely, I've always loved strategy games, and like they're just chill as well, The
thing that I weirdly get into, so really the only city builder I think I've ever gotten into is City Skylines, and it's the one that I've played some recently. It's been a while since I played it, but I kind of got back into it. It was just like the infrastructure of the roads and building these roads and making something that's functional and doesn't just cause anarchy traffic, but that also looks cool is really, it kind of just gets to the back roots of my brain, and just
there's this creativity.
It's this really strong like urge and desire. And when I was playing it a few months ago, like more regularly, I noticed like when I was out and about, I would be like, oh, so this is what kind of off ramp that they have here to get off the highway. And I was just like noticing all these things, not realizing how much thought and work and effort goes into it. Just the designing, not even, the like implementation. It was really kind of a neat thing. So back to Pharaoh, was that on your computer, like on your laptop when you played that?
No, that was older than that. I played that on a Windows 95 computer.
Oh, okay. Because I remembered playing some game, I think it was on your laptop, that had like pyramids and things, but I don't remember what it was.
I think I got a copy of it on the laptop. I think I recall that it was available for free download, like from the official publisher at one point or something like that. Or I just had a copy on my other PC. I don't recall. Or I played like a demo version of a newer game, but gotcha. I think I tried to play a newer game and it wasn't quite as good, or something like that. I don't quite remember. But yeah, it was on. If you remember, my old room was actually in the basement of our house, but it was this very large, long room. So I had like a desk set up and a computer at one end, and then kind of a couch area in the middle, with kind of a flat floor space, and then my bed on the far end of the room.
It was a pretty cool setup, aside from the small window basement aspect of it. You had a lot of space down there.
Yeah, it was pretty cool though. We definitely hung out and played some cool stuff. Super nostalgia. Oh man. But yeah, you could build. Wanted to call them wonders. I've been playing too much Civ. You can build like pyramids and like sphinxes and all that kind of stuff. A lot of the different missions. There actually was quite a plot to it, I think, as well. Of like, cool. You'd go through and build various cities, and sometimes you'd have to defend your city against invaders, which is all that kind of like standard city builder stuff, right?
Right.
But yeah, so some of the mission objectives would be to build this certain type of wonder, or the other cool mechanic that they had was that the houses, you didn't just like place like, in SimCity, I haven't played City Skylines, but in SimCity, you have like high density housing and like mid density housing and low density housing, and you have that like that scale of density for all the building types.
Yeah, that's how it is for the general buildings in City Skylines as well.
So that's not quite how it works in Pharaoh. In Pharaoh, what you do is you place housing plots, and then like settlers have to migrate to your city and go like move into the house, and then it becomes like a basic level 1 house. But then if you give it access to fresh water, it can then upgrade itself to a level 2 house, and it takes a little bit of time for it to do that. If you give it food, it upgrades to level 3. If you give it like a level of amenity or something like that, it upgrades another level. And there's all these like conditions to get it to upgrade, and there's like 25 levels of the housing or something, so it's really deep. Cool. So you have to like set up your city in this way to like make sure your houses have the right level, but that also kind of affects the like income of the citizens, right? So you have these like really nice houses in one part of the city, but then maybe another part of the city you only need to have like some basic goods and services because you have kind of like a worker population. So it had this interesting dynamic because of that mechanic as well.
That's neat. Did you also have to like take into consideration the flooding of the river? Okay, I definitely remember that. So then I must have played it at some point somehow.
Yeah,
because I remember not realizing that, and just like bad things
that was super cool. So since it's ancient Egypt, it was on the Nile, and so you had floodplains, and a lot of your farms were built on the floodplains. And so you had to build granaries to store all your food, because if you didn't have enough food and then the floods came in, you don't have anywhere to farm. And in a lot of the maps, that meant you didn't have any food access. Like, you had no food, which meant you had to import it, which was extremely expensive. So you had to have like some other type of goods production or like something else going for your city, or else your citizens were going to starve. And basically that meant that your population dropped to 0 and you lose. Because if you just run out of money in the early game, there actually wasn't a way to like get money unless you were producing goods or something like that. You don't just like get a bunch of money. It's actually was very easy to lose. I mean, like, once you know what you're doing, it's not as easy to lose. But like, you know, it was interesting that like just the challenges of the environment itself in terms of the floodplains and like the cycle. You know, if you didn't appease Osiris enough, then you get like crappy floods, and then the next year your yields would be really, really shitty.
That's so funny. I like that they implemented that into things as well.
Yeah, it had all these cool mechanics. But, you know, obviously very old school graphics. You know, this game must have come out in like 96 or 97 or something like that, 98. I don't remember exactly, but very old, but very, very fun. I definitely have a lot of nostalgia for it.
Nice. Well, on a very opposite spectrum of things, I've been thinking about Super Monkey Ball lately, because I've been watching some streams of the game Cluster Trucks, and it just made me think a lot of Super Monkey Ball, because it's a similar kind of feeling. Like, you're trying to complete this objective, and just everything is trying to prevent you from it in like a frustrating reset, try it again sort of way. Mm-hmm. And so Super Monkey Ball, actually, I think it was Super Monkey Ball 2 that I had for the GameCube. I don't remember specifically, but it was so bizarre. Like, the game itself, you're a monkey that's in a ball. Like a rat ball, except you're a monkey in a ball. You roll around, you collect bananas, you try to not fall off the stage.
And he happened upon a banana.
Yeah. And you cross the goal line. And I first had the game, I rented it, I think, from like Blockbuster way back in the day. Mm-hmm. And I was like, this is really cool, and then I bought it later. But I don't know. It was just one of those games that was so infuriating, and yet you just kept wanting to play it. You kept wanting to like,
beat I have to beat this level. Like, I was so close. Like, I just fell off the edge right at the last second.
Yeah, and I don't think I ever beat the game either. And it would be really interesting to kind of like try and go back and, you know, take some anti-salt pills and see how far I can get. But the cool thing about definitely stream it. I think it might have been Super Monkey Ball 2. I don't remember. It's in a box. But
it's my ball in a box.
They had a bunch of mini games as well.
Oh yeah, I remember we played like soccer and like tennis or something.
Yeah, some of them were pretty cool. Some of them were weird. There was like what was it? I don't remember. I think it was like flying or dogfight or something that was kind of strange. But there was golfing, which was kind of cool. So to paint a picture for you, with golfing, you're the monkey ball. You're the monkey in the ball, and you're on a tee, and the monkey in the ball has a golf club, and you swing the golf club in the ball, and then the ball goes flying. It's just
amazing.
So great. But yeah, the mini games are pretty cool too.
Those old Nintendo consoles had mini games as part of them. That was like a really cool thing about that era.
It was they were into the party aspect of things. I'm pretty sure that you could play the single player missions with other people. You would just like trade off and take turns. So it'd be like player 1 would go, you'd fall off the map, then player 2 would go, and it was like quasi competitive, but also you're still all trying to get to the end. But it was definitely one of those games that I played a lot of for a while, and then I hated because it was so frustrating, and I probably got stuck.
This is making me all the salt. I am now the Dead Sea.
Yeah, basically. And so I didn't really play it a whole lot after that, but it would be interesting to come back to it and try to approach it again with fresh brain, face, eyes, older, more wiser self.
Fresh, unseasoned brain bits.
Yeah.
You know what that really reminds me of, though? What was the name of that marble game that you played on your computer?
Oh, yeah.
Because I feel like it was kind of similar.
Marble Blast Gold. Yeah, it totally was. The difference being is that instead of a monkey and a ball, you're just a marble, and you like jumped around and you got power ups.
Didn't it have like the ability to make custom levels or something like that?
Yeah, it did. And I think I tried to make a couple, but I don't know. I don't know if I had a good enough computer or whatnot. Actually, now that I think about it, I'm going to check. I don't know that I can still play it.
Oh, that's unfortunate. I was going to say that would be cool to see.
I think it was a Power PC game, but I know I saved it because, yeah, I have Mac System games. I have a folder. Marble Blast Gold. Yeah, no, I'm not able to play it. It's got the little, like, circle with a line through it thing. I could look into it, though. It was that one.
Oh, no, not the circle with a line through it thingy.
Yeah, that's the worst. I could look into it and see if they have a newer version, but yeah, it was Marble Blast Gold, and it just, like, you bought a Mac computer back in the day, and it came with that, and it came with Nanosaur. Well, actually...
Oh, yeah, I remember that game, too.
Mine came with Nanosaur 2. Nanosaur 2 was not as fun as Nanosaur 1, which was on, like... I think it was OS 9. Like, the Mac OS 9. So Nanosaur 2, you're a flying pterodactyl, and you have to go around and collect the eggs. It's basically like a reverse Jurassic Park, where you, as a futuristic dinosaur, go back in time to save dinosaur eggs and bring them back to the future. And the first one, Nanosaur 1, you were a velociraptor that had like a gun arm, and you would like get weapons and blow up other dinosaurs. I never got very far in that game because, again, I was a kid. But Nanosaur 2 was less fun because you were the pterodactyl, and so you were always flying, and you couldn't like touch things. Otherwise, you would just like die. So it was a little bit more of like a flying around, avoiding stuff game. There was still like shooting, I think.
Many years later, this evolved into our hatred of lampposts.
Yeah, definitely. In Just Cause 2, when we would play and fly around doing silly stuff in jets, if like the tip of the wing clipped the light post in just a way, your whole jet would explode. But actually, okay, this is something that's very important, because when we talk about games that we played a lot and sort of like came up with our own game theories about it, in terms of, we were talking about Kirby Air Ride and how we were saying like, because of this in the game, like this causes other things, and like, you know, making our own theories for stuff. I am very certain that in Just Cause 2, the reason sometimes we would clip the lampposts and we would explode was because the landing gear was up. So like times when we were going in for a landing and we would be like, all right, here we go, and then we would go slow enough or whatever and the landing gear would come down,
right,
it like makes the jet invincible, because we also would take off and like crash into 15 things and then be going like 90 degrees straight up in the air and be perfectly fine. But as soon as we like touch something without the landing gear down, I think that there was like a
hard switch in the physics on how it treats those situations.
Yeah, something along those lines. I'm pretty sure I kind of figured that out.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But
very hilarious though.
Yeah, Just Cause 2 was such a great game. One of the things that I loved about it was being able to just get in a jet and fly everywhere on the massive island and just kind of like travel around and explore stuff. It was a ton of fun.
You could get in jets as well as cars, so getting around this massive map was actually quite easy and really, really fun. But they also had basically a helicopter drop, where the helicopter would just drop you out of the sky almost anywhere on the map that you wanted to go.
Yeah. And I think that was something that was cool about it, as well, like you said, you could get a jet or a helicopter or, you know, whatever vehicle you wanted. However, if you didn't have a vehicle, you also had a grappling hook and an infinite amount of parachutes.
So many parachutes.
It's even more pronounced in Just Cause 3 because you have a flight suit. However, because Practical and I are poor souls and have potato computers, we cannot play Just Cause 3. So we don't know exactly what that's like, but we know it's even better than Just Cause 2. The point being is that they really like made traveling a fun mechanic. Whereas, so a lot of open world games, you know, you think like GTA or Skyrim or stuff like that, where, you know, you've got to hoof it to get somewhere else. I think that Just Cause really does a good job of giving you a multitude of ways to get to where you want to go in a fun style, because you could like stand on someone's car and like just AFK as they drive you to your destination, or to drive you to wherever you don't even know where you're going. Or you could grapple your way there, or you could steal a jet, steal some cars and stuff, and it could get real crazy. But I think that in open world games, that's an interesting aspect, is how they implement travel in the game, because obviously it's going to be important to get to your quest destination or wherever you're going. what it is that encourages you to travel. Because like you said, in Just Cause, you could travel there on foot or in a jet or whatever, but you could also like airdrop in and fast travel. So like, I remember the times being when I wanted to drive somewhere just because I kind of liked driving, and it was fun to do. But I think that having sort of that distinction between like what is a fast travel and what is just like a fun travel mechanic is important in an open world game. And I'm kind of curious sort of what you think about different ways that you travel in games, and just what makes the journey fun as opposed to the destination.
Yeah, I was thinking about this too. And I actually kind of had a thought related to how they do the minimap. Because in games like GTA, you target an objective and then it gives you like lines on the minimap, and you're basically, like GPS, your Google Maps to your destination.
Right.
Whereas actually, I recall in Just Cause 2, they actually put arrows on the roads themselves, which I thought was really, really interesting.
Yeah, they did.
Because it meant that you looked at the minimap for context, but your eyes weren't constantly glued at the minimap to have to navigate. You were looking at the road to navigate, which meant you were looking at the world. And I think sometimes what I struggle with in games like GTA is if I'm trying to play too objective focused, I end up looking at the minimap always, and I stop noticing the world. And I think that's like obviously not a very fun trap to fall into, right? Because you want to be experiencing the world, and I think you want to be like dynamically exploring the environments around you. And that's not to say that like GTA doesn't have good mechanics for that, because I think, what the advantage there is they kind of have the minimap as like the context for the area, right? You have all the different like icons for the things that you can interact with. And a lot of these open world games kind of have a similar setup, but I think the navigation is kind of an interesting one.
That's a really good point that I didn't think about a whole lot, because you're right that in Just Cause they had, or at least Just Cause 2 again, there were actual arrows on the road that showed you like, take this turn here, take this turn here. But I think another distinction between looking at games like GTA, and I think that GTA 5 had a little bit more diversity because there was a lot of roads, up in the mountains and whatnot. But by and large, you're in a pretty dense city in all of the games. And so trying to navigate a city is confusing. Right. And I know like in Just Cause 2, when you were in the like main city hub area, it was fairly confusing unless you were like climbing on top of a building to see where you needed to go or checking the map. But a lot of Just Cause's landscape is more rural, and a lot of like, there's two roads going one direction. There's a lot more scenery to look at. And so it's less like, okay, I need to make a left turn like right here, right now, and then make a right turn over here. It's, you don't need so much the step-by-step GPS directions.
Yeah, that's an interesting
So
point.
I think that it could kind of like take more of a back seat and be like, you're going to stay on this road for a little bit, and then you're going to turn, and then you're going to turn, and you'll be there.
Yeah.
Whereas the GPS aspect, navigating in GTA is a bit different, just because, you have roads layered on top of other roads because of highways and stuff. So
yeah, and what's cool about Just Cause there is that, the impact that like the GPS tracking has on you, or the directions, is very minimal. Like you're driving and it only shows up like, oh, I got to turn left here. On this like massive open road through the desert. But it makes it's interesting that it adds to the immersion in some ways, because it makes it very picturesque, right? You're driving through the landscape as the sunset happens and it starts raining, like it's such a beautiful game. And you really have the time and the leisure to experience that, I think, which is one of the reasons that I find it so cool and so compelling.
And I think that's something that's interesting when you're talking about travel. And so talking now about Skyrim a bit, because of games that have, just a gorgeous landscape to see. Skyrim is definitely one of those, and it's been
definitely
a strong contender for, heck, I don't even know how many years now at this point, but it's been around for quite some time, and it still looks amazing with mods or without mods. It still looks quite good. But I think that something that kind of happens with Skyrim is at first you want to go out and explore, and you want to do things and have this open world to see, because it is gorgeous. The landscape is beautiful. Right. There's a lot to see visually. But once you start really getting into things, you kind of lose a little bit of that, because the game shifts from feeling more explorative into being like, all right, now I have a quest, and my quest is in the town that's or more like I have 30 solitude quests. It's all the way at the north of the map, and I'm all the way down at the bottom. So I could walk all the way there, or I could just fast travel, and problem solved. And so I think in that regard that the fast travel kind of takes a little bit away from it, because granted, you've probably made that trip before, because for the most part you had to go to places once
to get
like
the quest
mark
in the
it on
first
your
place.
map.
Yeah.
And then you could fast travel to it afterwards. But I think that for some of the cities, you never really had to walk there. You could take a horse cart that would just essentially fast travel you there for 50 gold, and then you could always fast travel there whenever you wanted to. And so, while I think it's good, because it allows for a multitude of people to play the game, people who are going to be more quest focused and like destination focused, they can fast travel, get the quest done, get the reward, boom, move on. But for people who want to take their time, smell the roses, take the scenic route, they also have that option. And it is, I think, Skyrim doesn't have a mini map, but you have sort of like a compass that'll point you in the right direction. So you can mark your destination and follow, like it'll say like northeast, and you go toward the marker up there. Yeah.
Although I definitely feel like I have to bring up the map if I'm hoofing it. I think the thing I struggled with Skyrim is that the traveling is just a little bit more clunky. Just moving around in Just Cause is so much fun that I think, like we've talked about, because a lot of the gameplay is in just maneuvering and navigating the world, it makes the travel much more fun. It's like a core gameplay element. Whereas in Skyrim, it's kind of somewhat unnecessary accessory in some ways.
And that's the thing too, is that in Just Cause you have a multitude of different ways to get around, and in Skyrim you have foot or horse, which was
only added like well into the lifespan of the game as well. The horses. So yeah, it is kind of interesting in terms of what the games prioritize as far as their mechanics.
But I think that having the aspect of fast travel is important, because it does allow, it allows other people to approach the game in the way that they want to. So especially if you have an open world game, you want to be able to approach it how you want to. That's the point of an open world game. And I think for me, the thing that I really want to do is explore. And so I am more likely to be playing Skyrim and not care so much about the destination, know that, I have this quest that's over there, I'm going to go around in this area, get a few more quests, and then make an efficient trek all the way up north or something. But I also play Skyrim very differently. I have a bunch of mods that are like survival mods and things like that, and so a lot of the times I don't want to fast travel. I want to explore and get a lot of what these survival mods have to offer for me. And in doing so, I'm playing much more of a role-playing Skyrim game as opposed to
an objective focused game.
Your classic objective focused type of Skyrim.
I think quest design has an impact as well, though, and I've been thinking about this a lot, playing various RPGs from more old school to kind of mid 2000s to now, and I think that sometimes having like longer term or longer scale quests where you don't have a bunch of like intermediate objectives sometimes helps, because it kind of frees you up. I think the problem that I struggled with Skyrim, actually, with the main quest, or actually, maybe not necessarily Skyrim, but a lot of RPGs, let's say Oblivion, right? Is that the main quest always feels so important. It's like, if you're caring about the character and what that character has experienced, let's say mods aside, right? Then you should probably go do the main quest right now, because this seems really important and pressing. So it doesn't make sense from your character's perspective to stop and smell the roses. And so, I've always felt that contradiction with some of the quest design.
And going off of that, I think it's very true that the main quests have you go to a lot of places that are kind of far apart. Because if you are, they want to guide you from like, here's this town. Okay, your next objective is to go to this town all the way across the place. So like, I think the thought behind that is probably, well, they'll have other quests that they can get along the way there. But if, like you're saying, you're feeling very driven in like the pressing urgency of the main quest, you're like, I just got to do this because the world's about to end. I'm going to fast travel and get this done because this is a pressing matter.
And you miss so much when that happens, but the game in some ways is incentivizing that. And I struggle with that, honestly. Like it definitely affects how I play the game.
I think that's really a good point, and honestly, why when I play Skyrim, by and large, I ignore a lot of the quests. I play it in a very, like I said, role-playing kind of way. My focus is on the character and their experiences. And so, like, I act as if the main quest doesn't even exist, you know? And I have, again, mods that allow me to sort of circumvent the traditional start to the game. But it's for that very reason, because it has you leapfrogging all around the world. And if you really want to be like, all right, I'm going to dig in and finish this quest chain, even if it's, just part 1 out of 50 of the main quest, it's going to have you going to the town, going out to fight the dragon, and then going back to the town, talking with the person, and then going all the way back to where you started.
Yeah.
And it's very, it's very much like an in-depth traveling thing. And so, heck yeah, you're going to fast travel. Why would you not,
Yeah, they'd have to do something either to make the travel mechanic like part of the core gameplay so that, the journey back is an adventure in and of itself, or to like, because what they have now is sort of a mismatch between gameplay design and story design, right? The gameplay design is actually is pretty good. It's leading you around the various cities so you can get kind of a decent overview of the entire map. And so if the story design matched that, if the story had something to do with, you need to go to each of these cities and you need to spend some time in each place and you need to kind of like understand the area and figure out what's there. And your quest is going to take some time to accomplish. And so you're going to have some side tasks while you're there. But then eventually you're going to move on to the next city as like the next stop in your destination, right? And that would make a lot more sense and would fit the story in with the gameplay.
I think that's very true, that the quest design has a lot to do with that. Like thinking about the worst part of Skyrim by far was the Thieves Guild quests, where in order to progress with the main quest line, like becoming the leader of the Thieves Guild or whatnot, you had to actually go and do these specific thieving quests that would take you to the different cities around the world. And you could only accept 2 of them at the same time. I'm pretty sure that there were 2 people you could get them from, and you would only get 1 from each. And they would be random, and they would send you to a random hold. But in order to like succeed eventually, like you would get little rewards for doing each one, but it was pathetic. It was like 100 gold or something. But you would have to do one of each kind of quest in like steal an item, change the books in a shop, or like things of that nature. You would have to do one of each of those kinds in a specific city. So like 2 in Whiterun, 2 in Solitude. Well, the Thieves Guild is in Riften, which is like southeast on the map. It's very, very far away from everything else.
And you have to go back and forth for every quest.
Constantly. The difficulty about this, and I think that they did eventually patch this in an official patch, is that it was random to the point that you had to get the quest and then you're like, well, I don't need to go to this town because I've already done it a bunch of times, and you'd have to reject the quest and then like keep going through and rinse and repeat until they finally gave you a random quest that was where you needed to go.
Oh, really? That's awful.
But even then, outside of that, to go across the entire map, steal a thing, bring it back, and get like 100 gold later in the game is completely laughable and not a reasonable reward.
It's pointless.
And so just kind of thinking about sending the player to a town, like there should be other checks that go into that if it's going to be random. Be like, have they been to this town? How many quests have they done in this town? If they haven't done very many quests, maybe pick this one and send them there, or something along those lines, as opposed to just complete dice roll of where you're going to end up. But,
I would also like to see some more mechanics involved with the relationship stuff.
Definitely.
Like you can't access this quest until you just are known enough in this town for this person to trust you, let's say, and like maybe you have to do some other quests. Like RPGs have had that in a while. Like, oh well, I'll help you proceed on your quest, but you need to do such and such things for me. And maybe there's a whole side plot where, like the heroes are diverted from their task because of, unknown factors. Like that happens a lot in stories.
And I think that the only way to make that feel reasonable as well, kind of like what you're talking about, is that the main quest needs to not always be a saving the world kind of quest.
Right.
And I think that that's kind of hard to do in a AAA game. Because you got to have the epic. You got to have the big...
It's got to be all of the epic, yeah.
You've got to be traveling to the lost lands of everywhere, which is cool. But like, why can't it just be, hey, there's this evil dude causing some problems, like go take care of him. He doesn't have to be resurrecting dragons that are going to eat the entire world. Just there's dragons. Like, we now have dragons. What do we do to deal with them? Like, that could be the main thing, like learning, uncovering the mystery, which it is. But then it just becomes this whole like grand, huge deal of just like world's ending.
The whole process of like investigating the information. It's like it gets MacGuffined, right? There's like, oh, you must go get this plot object here, and then now because you got X plot object, now we understand everything.
Yeah.
But it definitely doesn't feel like you're actually like uncovering a mystery or like investigating the history of the dragons in this world, right? It's just, you're just kind of insert generic warrior or mage or archer, because that's what the game is, right? You have to be able to customize your character, and your character has to be able to be put into all of these quests, regardless of how ridiculous you made them, right?
And I think that that's why I enjoy playing Skyrim in a much more role-playing way, because it allows me to ignore all of that and be like, this is my character. You know, she's a thief archer, or he's a paladin warrior. What does he want to do? You know, oh, there's dragons. Okay, well, I'll have to fight some dragons, but I want to rid the world of the undead scourge that is running across our land. Or, you know, she's like, I just need to get another score so that I can get a horse and travel the world, or whatever their personal goal is. And like, the main quests can kind of tie into that in some regard. But I really think that it's fun to, like, that's what makes Skyrim fun for me. And definitely having mods, I think, is kind of vital to further that mission. But like, I played the main quest of Skyrim when I first got it on my Xbox when it was released back in the day, like 5 years. I don't know. It's been a while, but I did it. I did all the like main quests, all the side quests, and I was like, cool. I beat the game, but I don't have any desire to play through that again. The only thing that's keeping me to the game is the framework in which the game has been created.
Right. And the mods. It's basically like the engine at that point.
Yeah. And everything that has been added to it through mods and the, you know, the infrastructure of the character creation and whatnot. So that's what keeps it fun for me. And the world, you know, honestly, how the world is and the environments that you're placed in. I think that is another big part, is it's pretty. It's pretty to explore the worlds of Skyrim. It's fun talking to people. And I think that's why I agree with you so much on the relationship aspect, that, you know, I want my character to have actual in-game renown with these people that they're doing the quests for, so that, you know, it's not just the whole like, oh, you're some random warrior, oh, now I like you. But there's more of a progression in terms of like, if you're helping people or if you're liked or disliked in the town, outside of just like, oh, you have a bounty, the guards are going to attack you.
You know, actually, a game I'm going to cite here, talking about these kinds of mechanics, is the Fable games.
Yeah.
They're not quite open world. It's a little bit more like path and area based, right?
Definitely. Yeah.
But it does have fast traveling, actually. But it makes sense, you know, because it's just like, now you're just walking across the path. But at the same time, just walking is great too, because everyone has something to say to you. And that's kind of true. You know, I think in some ways it was true in Oblivion almost more than it was in Skyrim, but it's definitely true in Skyrim. But what's cool about Fable is that, you know, you do have your renown. So people will just be like, oh, he's the great hero of our land. You know, see him walk. But you'll also have a title. So they'll address you by that title as well, which is kind of cool. And you can customize your title. So it's definitely like,
as opposed to just Dovahkiin, like Dragon Warrior.
Yeah. So hearing like, you know, this an auditory feedback based on your customization options is kind of cool. But also just like walking through the town and having people want to talk to you, and like sometimes they flirt with you and like want to sleep with you, or like sometimes they hate you and like want to start a fight with you, and you have like almost Sims style emoting, right?
Yeah.
It's, you know, those kinds of interaction elements are actually really, really good if we're talking about you know, going that more role playing route. And so it would be cool to see games like Skyrim, you know, branch out a little bit more, because, you know, in other areas, right, Fable isn't as much of an open world game. You don't have that freedom. And so it would be cool to see the genres blend a little bit together more.
Definitely. I agree. And I think that something that's interesting is, you know, one of the reasons I like doing the role-playing thing in Skyrim, and why I think that there are some of those aspects in terms of just how characters interact with your character in Fable, is there's this importance of immersion in an open world game that is much more important than in a more linear style game, whereas, you know, you are playing through the level in Halo, or in even in Borderlands, it's a different sense, because the game itself is not, it's you know, it's a loot grinding levels kind of game specific, like that's the focus. And with open world games, the immersion is kind of important, because you have this huge world that you can explore, and you want to feel like you're actually a part of it. You want to feel like you actually have an impact on it.
Yeah, otherwise it feels hollow. Yeah,
and it's something that I can cite for that is Elite Dangerous, which is a huge open galaxy game, open world. But, you know, you can explore anywhere in space, and I don't want to get into it a whole lot, but sort of thinking about that sort of empty feeling is that you have very little interaction with other NPCs or people or characters in the game, unless you're having very concentrated community player, you know, interactions, which seemed rare unless you specifically interact and seek that out outside of the game. But like, that's something that is really important, because it's going to draw you back into the game and keep you invested in the world. And I think something like games like GTA, especially GTA 5, honestly, is that it does a really good job of kind of grounding you in the sense that, like, you know, it's based off of a real city, but like it feels authentic. You know, there's of course aspects that are hammed up because it's a GTA game, but it doesn't go so far as to be Saints Row, which has become this very like kind of cross between Just Cause and GTA, honestly, with aliens.
All of the ham. Well, I mean, it's way more ham than Just Cause.
Yeah. But the thing that just the environments in GTA and how you're driving around and you push past someone and they're like, hey, what are you doing? Like if you run into someone, they get angry or they run away or they get scared. And there is
just like wandering off into the city is super fun in GTA.
Yeah. And there is that sense of immersion that kind of like keeps you rooted in there. And something I'm kind of interested in is thinking about that is, does fast traveling break that immersion? Like if you have that capability to, like in Just Cause or in Skyrim, if you're like, I want to go from point A to point B and I don't want to have to walk there, take me there game, does that take you out of that immersiveness of the open world? Or
I definitely think it can. It has the potential to. It doesn't necessarily, but it definitely has the potential to. Like, honestly, I feel like it's actually implemented quite well in Just Cause. Getting the helicopter drop, because it makes sense with how you get your loot and like you can call in vehicles anyway.
I would agree.
And then like dropping from the sky, because you're just so comfortable maneuvering around with that parachute and grappling hook anyway, it's just kind of cool to be dropped from the sky over wherever you want to hang out. Because then you don't need to do it often. It just takes you roughly where you want to go, and then you just fly to where you want to go. You know, it's like it just gets you into the action faster.
And the other thing that I want to add about that is the fact that you're airdropped in, instantly you're given a visual of everything that's around you. It's not like, okay, you'd fast travel, now you're standing on the ground in the middle of the city and you have no idea where you are. No, you're dropped in.
Like how you got there.
Yeah. You're dropped in and you see there's gas stations, there's cars, there's a bridge, there's buildings, and
maybe your objective is in your vision.
Yeah. And so it very clearly already sets you up in terms of like having an understanding of what's in front of you. So from a gameplay aspect, I think that that's really, really crucial and kind of a small point, but I think a really important one, honestly.
And I think that's what is lost in Skyrim. You know, when you take those carriages, it's like, oh, now I'm at the walls of a city that I have never seen before. Like if you're playing the game for the first time, and I have no idea what the roads were like or the train was like to get here, or like how much distance was in between, right?
Definitely.
But if you walk the whole way every time, the game isn't set up to have it be enjoyable at that pace if you're doing the quests, right? If you're doing the Thieves Guild quests and you're walking back and forth the whole time, you're going to fucking hate it.
Well, and that sucks. Yeah, you
like,
constantly are having to fight along the road every single, 20 feet or whatnot when monsters appear. But yeah, I get you.
And it feels arbitrary and non-immersive when that happens.
Yeah.
Which sucks too, because like, you can definitely have random encounters in other games like, GTA and Just Cause, but in some ways it feels more immersive. Like it's interesting that the random traveling, like Skyrim is almost buoyed by the fast traveling.
Yep.
Unless you have like the mods and stuff.
One of the neatest things that I think I experienced in GTA was going around the city and seeing an NPC steal from another NPC. Having the person who just had something stolen from freak out and be like, he just stole my wallet or whatever. You chasing the guy down and like beating him up, getting the wallet back, and then keeping the money or going and giving it to the person. Like,
oh, that's awesome.
It's a completely dynamic event, but it feels very authentic just in terms of how it plays out. To be fair, if you've played hundreds of hours in the game and seen that 50 times, it might wear off. But I think that it's those little things like that really, add something to it in a scripted but not set. It's dynamic in terms of how it would occur.
And to be fair to Skyrim, like it's not like it doesn't have those elements.
Right.
Aren't there NPCs that will like burglarize houses and stuff like that, or was that Oblivion?
I'm not sure exactly how much that goes into Skyrim. The thing that Skyrim was making a big deal about was sort of the dynamic. I forget the term that they use, but like the dynamic questing. Where
I remember when the game was about to come out, we were really excited for like the Radiant AI is what they were calling it.
That's what it was, yeah.
And I feel like it didn't live up to what they were saying it was going to be able to do.
No.
As far as making it dynamic. It was just sort of like, here's some random like go fetch quest like kind of
It definitely became that kind of thing. And the thing that they tried and I appreciate and mods made a lot better was everyday life stuff. Like, oh hey, go work at the sawmill, get some gold. Okay, you work and you see the wood chopping animation. You press A, you sit for 30 seconds. You go sell the wood, you get 60 gold or like whatever. And it's like
woohoo.
Yay, so fun. Like cooking, okay, you collect ingredients and you cook things that heal health. Okay,
Yeah.
that there's just aspects of it that were not really well done or really well thought through.
Or just there wasn't a lot of effort put into them.
Yeah, well, and I think there was even one point that you could like go to a farm and pick the farm's cabbages and then go sell them to the farmer and be like, here, look, I picked these cabbages for you from your own farm.
That's hilarious.
But I think that also, to be fair, thinking about this, Just Cause is also a really old game, but Skyrim is an older game. GTA 5 is much more recent.
Yeah.
And I like to think that they've, gleaned some stuff from that, which is why I think that whatever the next Elder Scrolls standalone game is, I'm very hopeful for it because of all of these things. But at the same time, I'm not necessarily holding out a lot of hope. Just seeing Fallout 4, and granted, they are different games, you whatnot. And I think that the struggle there is just that they have a formula. It works. It sells. And they create new and great content every time. Don't get me wrong. But I think that some of their fear might come from breaking from that and having something a bit too different that suddenly doesn't sell or whatnot.
It sort of feels like it's turning into a content machine.
Yeah.
Which is unfortunate because I think, we definitely had like a vision of where it could have gone, like back with even from Oblivion.
Oh, for sure.
And all the mods and like console commands, and Oblivion definitely had some cool elements that I really saw a lot of hope in the genre, and it has evolved a lot. But it is interesting how much things have changed now that gaming is so much more mainstream. Like it feels like the approach from all the developers is very different, and I know it has to be, but it is very interesting.
The thing that they definitely did much better in Skyrim was a lot of the voice acting is much more immersive. Yeah. Halt! You violated the law. Just like angry guards constantly. Well, a lot of my memories of Skyrim in terms of that interaction is I have a lot of mods installed and I don't remember which ones do which things, but I know there's a mod that overhauls the guard dialogue so that they're less like yelling at you all the time, being like, don't you dare steal anything. I've got my eye on you. And they're more just like, welcome to the city, like they more casual unless they have a reason to kind of be like angry with you or whatnot. But
one interesting thought I had, do you recall the kind of everyday life mini games in Fable with like the wood chopping and that kind of stuff? Because we were talking about how boringly implemented it was in Skyrim.
It's been a long time since I've played. I have Fable 3 for my Xbox. I could pick that up again, but it has been a long time since I've played it. I remember that there was a lot to do with like buying real estate.
Yeah, like almost all of the buildings were purchasable, which is pretty awesome. But one of the primary ways that you made money to be able to do that was there were different like jobs that you could do. Like you could be a blacksmith, or you could be like a lumberjack, or there was a couple of other ones. But there were little mini games, and they were fairly simple. Like you just had to like press the button at the right time. But even that, just like compared to what the Skyrim quests were, or like mechanics were, it's like even just something to at least make you interact or have some sort of gameplay element here, right?
Yeah.
Because, it wasn't super immersive, but at least it was fun to be like, oh, I've been wandering around the world and I'm back in town. Let's just like, futz around for a little bit and make some gold.
And the most immersive factor about Skyrim is the very beginning. Like I'm trying to think vanilla Skyrim. When you first get to Riverwood, after you've gone through the whole like, look, a dragon is attacking. And I think it depends on who you side with, where you end up going. But like you find this blacksmith guy who's like, oh, you're so-and-so, like, well, let me take you in and like help you. Whoa, there's dragons. You say you need to go and like tell someone here, like I have some food that I can offer you. And it just felt very authentic and very great. And it's 100% scripted, but like, that's the only moment in like the vanilla Skyrim that really has that kind of real relationship building, authenticity to it. And
maybe some of the dialogue with like, the Jarl and Whiterun, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I guess, but maybe part of my issue with it is that by that time, it's already a grand, huge quest.
Because you're the Dovahkiin. Yeah. Like, you become the Dovahkiin so fast.
Yeah, and everyone's just like, oh, you're the Dragonborn. Now we must, like, bow to you. Or kill you, or, whatever.
Something, yeah.
But, I don't know. I think that, I don't remember a whole lot about the stuff in Fable. But yeah, even if there was just some sort of interactivity behind it or like a use for it, I think that having one of the mods that I first got was the Frostfall mod for Skyrim, which makes it so like the land is cold and you need to stay warm. You need to build campfires. If you're out traveling at night, you can freeze to death.
That's cool.
And you can completely...
It's like Don't Starve.
Yeah, well, you can completely tune it and customize it to your liking. You can make it so it's a minor nuisance or like it's actual life or death. If you're out at night, like you will freeze to death unless you have proper clothing and things. And so the mods of Skyrim really are what make it fully tunable to how you want to play the game and whatnot. And I wonder if we'll ever get to that point where a game like Skyrim, of that genre, some open world exploring type of game,
it's like that on vanilla.
Yeah, we'll have that customizability from release, or whether it's always something that's going to be mod dependent,
or even just those like extra immersive elements. And that's, I don't always necessarily mean that like they have to be realism elements,
right,
to be more immersive. In some ways, it almost just needs to allow you to interact with the world or feel like your actions have an impact on the world. I think in Fable, why it really works is money is very important. Like for the real estate, you can buy houses, you can like get married and have kids, like all that kind of stuff. Sure, the mechanics aren't realistic for how you do those things, but because you're interacting with the world and you're changing like the NPCs that you see around you and the structure of the world, you feel very involved in it, right? And so because the jobs and doing the jobs, even though they're just a simple minigame, because they play into that, there's some like incentive behind there. And if you make enough gold, you like get to like a 2-star blacksmith and you can like start making more money, that kind of thing.
That's cool.
So like it adds that role-playing flavor, but it doesn't have to be realistic for that to be immersive.
Yeah. What it needs to be is it needs to be authentic to the game experience. I know Fable isn't trying to be a realism game. That's not its pitch. But you're right in the sense that it needs to not feel out of place or like something that's sort of been tacked on after the fact. And I think that the issue that kind of happens with open world games is that, and I think I kind of see this with Mass Effect, and I kind of worry about thinking about this with Mass Effect Andromeda, is that when people and players say, we want to feel like we're having an impact in the world. Well, to have an impact in the world and like an influence, I feel like that comes across as, so you need to be like the center of the universe. And
right, you need to change the world and all the
which
things.
Really, kind of like what you were saying with Fable, just having those small little interactions with the NPCs and having that sort of influence. Like, I think that that's something that's really great. Like, invest in a store that you like and they talk to you differently, or, they help you out in a different way or something. It just, that kind of, again, relationship building is something that I think is kind of hard to capture in a way. And again, like you said, it doesn't necessarily have to represent realism, but it does need to be authentic to the game. And I don't know if it's something that just isn't tried very often, or if it's one of those things that, again, is felt is less important outside of being the hero of time or the chosen one or the, savior of humanity.
It's also that it's a very like abstract and subjective notion, right? So it's difficult to say like you do these specific things and suddenly you have immersive like dynamic relationships with the NPCs. Like
that's true.
Nobody really knows how to like do it in that sense. People come up with models and systems to approximate it or to try and make the player feel immersed. But at the same time, everyone's kind of experimenting. And that's what programming always is, and because you have to construct these systems.
Yeah, and I think then that might be kind of why we're not ever going to have that something from a vanilla release, because everyone that plays Skyrim with mods is going to have different mods that they play with depending on how they want to play the game. And all of those allow you to fine tune the game how you want to play it, And I think that...
Yeah, and so maybe that's okay.
Yeah, maybe it is. I think that it would be neat to have a game, maybe isn't as complex as some of these open world games, but that allows you to sort of like customize your own game experience a little bit more. You could have like, this is how the game is meant to be played, but like you could have sliders and things that just change, number values, like get more gold for defeating enemies or get less gold for defeating enemies or, get more points per level or things like that. Because one of the things I do, again, with Skyrim, when I start out, is I kind of pre-customize my characters. I'm like, okay, they're going to have low levels in these things, high levels in these things, and these skill points already attributed because this is who they are. And then like going
Right.
forward, when they complete certain objectives that I'm like, wow, that was actually really difficult for them to do, even though they didn't gain a level, I'm like, that was a difficult thing for this character to do. I'm going to give them a level, or things kind of like that, which...
Yeah, I mean, you're using it as a platform, but in some ways, to do those more immersive role-playing elements, you have to subvert the game mechanics a little bit.
Definitely. And as I was thinking that mods are always going to have to kind of provide those alternatives to the base way of playing the game. And I think that it's...
Subvert the authority.
Yeah. But I think in that regard, what is really good and really important is that, you know, the Bethesda or the Skyrim development team and whatnot openly is like, mods are great, let's do this.
Yeah.
And they aren't like, don't you dare touch our game, like, back away.
Except for that debacle with paid mods, but you know.
That I think that was just a different thing. That was something that they were trying because they were like, mod creators should, you know, get some compensation for their work, and just it was poorly received and there was a lot of confusion. We don't need to go into that. But
Jinx used confusion.
It was super effective on the internet because
every confusion is always super effective on the internet.
Series of tubes.
A series of confoobs.
Sure. Yeah. But one last thing that I kind of wanted to talk about in our discussion of open world games is the thing that drives someone to play an open world game. Most of the games we've talked about have the main quest, the story, the waypoints, the whatever you're trying to accomplish. And games that don't have that so much, like Elite Dangerous or like Minecraft, for example, the driving force is not through quests because there are none.
Right.
Minecraft sort of has a story kind of there, and you kind of there's something to do, but the game never directly tells you this. And so
would Just Cause then kind of be like a hybrid? Because yes, the quests are there, but it doesn't seem to be the main focus in some cases.
Well, the main focus in Just Cause 2 is to cause chaos, which
exactly.
Yeah.
But it's like it's the same thing. You're not quite so quest driven, which allows you to just kind of wander around the world a little bit more.
That could be why we both enjoyed the game so much, because it kind of taps into both of those needs for us, which is a bit of direction, but also some freedom to do whatever the heck we want and have fun with it. Whereas I think we both have gone back and forth in our own ways with like Minecraft, where we enjoy the game a lot for the creativity and freedom, but at the same time, you know, we sometimes struggle when we like we'll build a base and have a really cool place we're living in, and we're like, okay, now what? We don't really want to leave it and go and explore new territory per se, but it's
but because of the lack of objectives, it's like it's sort of you lose purpose after a while.
Yeah. So
it's kind of interesting then to like categorize the games by how they incentivize the player, right? You know, are you incentivized to explore or to do quests or to just kind of, you know, interact with your environment around you? And I think how those incentives are laid out obviously affects how the player plays, but it also affects that immersive element, right?
The reasoning behind it. Why is the incentive to explore? Because there's nothing else to do, or because you've depleted the resources around you, or because you want to build something new, or because you want to see the landscape. Like, I definitely think in Minecraft, a lot of our reason for exploration is like, oh, shoot, I need more cobblestone to build my castle. Or I need to find diamonds to build armor so that I can explore or whatever. Like, it's very needs-based, as opposed to, I think it's more often needs-based than desire-based. Like, let's go and explore over here because why the heck not? You know, it's usually, we need to find this resource, which is fine, but I think for exploration, there should be some driving force to, like, just for fun, find a new biome and whatnot. And maybe that's just Minecraft isn't the game for us in that regard, but...
Whereas in Just Cause, like, it's actually really built in that way, because you have to, like, explore visually your world to find the elements to destroy and the collectibles.
Yep.
You don't get, like, guided to them. You have to explore. So your needs-based gameplay, in terms of, like, needing to follow the game objectives, gives you that, like, desire to explore.
That is, yeah. I never really thought about it in that kind of regard, but I think you're pretty spot on.
Even with the way they implement the little, like, radar thing that detects the boxes around you. If you haven't played Just Cause 2, basically you could get different upgrade boxes and you'd have this little radar meter that, you know, like bars would fill up as you got close to the collectible, but it wouldn't actually tell you where they were. So you kind of got like a hot and cold distance, but you still had to explore the area and figure out where they were hidden. And there were like various like consistent locations that they would be behind, like, oh, in this kind of building, they may be in the back or like they may be around the side or something like that. But it definitely made you have to like explore that area and like figure out what that area looked like. And it definitely, I think, to me, added to that immersion, because then you were like, oh, I remember this area. Like, I drove through here before, but I totally didn't notice this box over here. Like, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I definitely think that added some cool elements, even though it's just sort of like a, hey, here's some collectibles.
Right. So then for something with, like Minecraft or like Elite, how would you go about adding some of that reasoning behind the incentive, or, giving, I guess, an alternative to purely the needs-based, like, I guess Minecraft kind of did that when they introduced hunger. You need to go and get food somehow, which might require you to go and explore. But
I think, we're sort of primarily focused on exploration, it seems like, because I think that's something that we really value out of open world games, right?
Yeah.
We want to explore new territory and find new experiences, because, I mean, that's kind of one of the ways that you interact with the gamers, right? You're seeing more of what the world is like, and that's how you continue to interact with the game. If you're just kind of running over the same area that you've already been to, you're not seeing anything new. And I think that's part of what drives us to Minecraft is, we want to see the next biome. So maybe doing something that ties into that element, right? So maybe in every biome, there's like a special secret thing that can be found. Or maybe it's not even something that's like powerful, but just like some sort of customization element, right? But you have to like push a new biome to be able to find it.
I haven't kept up with the Minecraft updates lately, but I do think that they've kind of been doing that, because there is in each biome, more or less, I think, except for like plains, there is some sort of something, whether it's like a temple or like a witch house or a jungle tower.
Oh, that's cool.
Or something like that. So there's like pyramids in the desert and stuff like that. But they're also not necessarily guaranteed in the biome. I think that the struggle with us in Minecraft comes from the fact that, like you said, we do like to explore and keep pushing the new territory, but we also like to build and do things. And so it's hard to kind of like create a home base and then push out too far from that, because there's no fast travel in Minecraft. So in terms of travel mechanics, if you get too far out, you're either going to get lost or going to have a really hard time getting back to where all of your things are. So it's a bit of a push-pull in that regard. So I think that it works and it does what it's supposed to in some ways. It's just it appeals to different gamers differently. Again, sort of like you can play it how you want to, and we talked about trying to do like a creative mode thing where we focused more on like building stuff and doing things that way, as opposed to doing like a survival where the focus wasn't on building cool stuff, but it was like, just making progress and exploring and finding cool things. But
yeah, because it was interesting, because early Minecraft was much more of a creative mode. It was like you still had to go collect all the blocks, but you didn't have all these survival elements.
The focus was go collect the blocks so you can make the cool thing. It wasn't go survive.
Yeah, it's interesting how these things evolve over time. Actually, one game I kind of want to cite here, which I know there's some controversy here on the Mako, but Mass Effect 1, I actually really liked the way the open world exploration worked on some of the planets.
Yeah.
I know you got somewhat of a limited area, but what I found really cool about it is when you landed on some planet that you hadn't been to before, you didn't know what was down there. It wasn't like you didn't necessarily have a quest to go there, but you could find a quest. Right, you might find some like transmission or something like that gave you a quest prompt. And I remember finding so many of the side quests by doing that. I'm just down here finding some minerals. Oh, what is this over this hill? Oh crap, there's like a colony here.
Yeah.
Like that. I thought that was a really cool element of it, because you didn't know what you were going to find, and there were so many planets that like you got that like dynamic emergent exploration going on.
Yeah, and they did a very good job of weaving side story elements into a lot of those things.
Right, like that was like the Rachni, so everything was kind of relevant to what you were doing in the main story, but like tangentially related. Like you could see the changes happening throughout the galaxy. Like, you're talking about Mass Effect as the story of, gradually the Reapers fuck shit up over time, right? Because it's not just like they show up at one point, they're like fucking shit up for generations, always, right? Yeah. And so you like gradually see all these changes, but like, in Mass Effect 1, you don't even really fully realize what's going on, right? But like you can see the change just kind of like propagating throughout the entire galaxy. And it's like, that's such a cool way that you're able to see it by like, emergently finding these things on planets.
Yeah, definitely. And that's my hope for Mass Effect Andromeda, which BT Dubs comes out in March. So excited
So
for that. But
computer potatoes, though.
the what?
Computer potatoes?
Yeah. Yeah, I'll have to figure.
My potato is a computer.
I'll have to figure something out. But
it's GLaDOS.
they have oh yeah, that is totally from Portal 2, isn't it? I forgot about that.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Computer potato.
The thing that I am excited to see in Mass Effect Andromeda is them bringing back some of that ground exploration. And I really hope that they do it in a way that feels rewarding, but that is also still immersive, but that improves upon what Mass Effect 1 had, for sure.
Yeah.
And I think that they have a lot of great opportunity because you're in a whole new galaxy. Like, there's a lot of things going on, and I just hope that they don't make it too much of a space opera, which from most of the trailers and like cinematic stuff I've seen, it seems like that. But that is just the main quest. And like Mass Effect 1 had its elements, but the thing that was cool about Mass Effect 1 is you weren't to the point of grand galactic annihilation yet. You know, you were kind of still in the stages of, I'm like a space undercover cop going around doing the things, finding stuff out, being cool.
Yeah, like you had an important mission, but like you had to do other stuff to get there. So like you were playing the long game.
I think that they could really do a lot of cool stuff having a completely new galaxy and a new framework to work with in Andromeda, but I'm also still, you know, keeping some reservations about it and am a little nervous, but we'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
It could definitely be
it's
good.
It's going to be AAA. Like it's definitely a AAA game, so it just may also have some cool elements that like don't get hyped, you know?
Yeah. I'm very hopeful for it. And I think that it's something that they would do. It's not to say that like Mass Effect 2 and 3 weren't good. It just was very different. It became a much more linear narrative.
So one thing I'm actually curious about, it's funny, we wrote down in our notes sense of scale. And so I'm curious, of these worlds, I don't actually recall which of them is the largest in some of these open world games, at least for the ones that have a finite size. Obviously, Minecraft isn't like a, you know, finitely sized game, but, you know, between like GTA 5 and like Just Cause 2, Just Cause 3, I'm not actually sure like what the sizes are.
I don't know. I think GTA 5 is pretty large in size.
I feel like it's the largest one.
I don't know.
Just Cause 2 like just felt so massive.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's actually like a top Google result. Oh, no.
It definitely feels bigger than GTA 4.
Just Cause 2 map size is about 4 times the size of GTA 5.
Holy cow. Okay, so I'm not wrong in like remembering that game was fucking humongous.
Just Cause 2, according to this first image that I see, is 923 kilometers squared. GTA 5 is 256 kilometers squared.
Holy cow. I mean, I guess it does take like 20 minutes in a jet to fly across Just Cause.
Yeah, and that's the thing that's so cool about it, is that it does have that huge sense of scale, but being able to fly around in a jet and see things is really, it's neat.
Still more fun to just like go there on your own than fast travel. Like, always.
I love just driving around in Just Cause 2. I want to play Just Cause 3 now. Okay, like this is.
I just want to play Just Cause 2. Like honestly, I would just stream single player Just Cause 2 still now. Like
that would be cool. I mean, it looks like Skyrim is smaller than GTA 5 map size. But
I guess not surprising because you don't have cars.
Yeah, I'm also just Google searching images, so I mean, Just Cause 2 is definitely the biggest. It does make me want to play Just Cause 3, but Just Cause 2 is pretty great.
Why would you want to do such a thing?
Just Cause 3 or 2.
Thank you for catching that.
What was that? That was from the zero punctuation review of Just Cause 2.
I think he actually gave it Game of the Year for his awards that year.
He did indeed. And rightfully so. We saw that after we had the game, because that was purely our own volition.
Oh yeah, for sure.
We were like, demo, this game's great, bye.
I actually know several people who got into Just Cause because of the demo.
Yeah, it's a great demo.
Talk about like something that's kind of, I think, an understated element of gaming is demos and just previews in general. Like the ability to have something playable. We 100% bought Just Cause 2 because of the demo.
And it's interesting because the demo was a perfect representation of what the game was going to be.
You just get to play in the open world in one of the areas for 30 minutes.
Yeah, you're in like part of the desert area and you have 30 minutes and just go blow stuff up.
Yep. And it's so fantastically fun. And we played it like for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours. And it's like not even that it's that much less fun than the main game. Yeah, obviously the main game has more content and stuff to do. But it's still like I would still just play even the demo right now, like if I didn't have access to the main game.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you? Like,
yeah, no, definitely.
I mean, really?
Definitely.
And like that says something amazing, right? Like I don't think that can be said for a lot of games.
No. Having that kind of replayability. And I mean, I think there is a little bit of nostalgia there for us, but really it is the infinite possibilities and the weird things that happen. A lot of what was fun for us though was like trading off, because it's just as much fun watching someone play and seeing what they end up doing as it is like,
because there's so many creative uses for the grapple that like really the sky's the limit, and literally is the limit, because you can like grapple a plane and a helicopter up into the sky, drop the plane out of the sky, try and get into it and fly away before it hits the ground. Like there's so many fun things to do.
Also, you realize in Just Cause 3 that you have like multiple grapples.
Yes.
Okay. Just saying.
It's one of the things that we always wanted.
One of the things that we always wanted, I think I mentioned this when we talked about Just Cause 2, one of the many other times, was the bomber jets. I won't go into that again, but bomber jets are in Just Cause 3 as well.
Oh man, do you remember those videos with the bus like bouncing off the water?
Yep, because it was spinning so much physics. I guess that was what made Just Cause 2 work, was the game mechanic was to mess around and blow stuff up, but it was fun to do so, and the story itself was absolutely ridiculous. And
yeah, like ninjas with SMGs showed up at a certain point.
Yep.
And you definitely fight the final boss riding a nuke.
Yep.
So yeah, that happened. I think we can nostalgia trip about this game forever.
Well, something we never did was we never messed around with the Just Cause 2 multiplayer mod.
Yeah, I don't really know why.
We could definitely mess around with that and try and do some streaming.
Some strumming.
I'd be down.
Strummalumba ding dong.
Yeah, I'd be up for it.
You'd be down and up for it. Left, right, up, down.
I would be in the air in a jet, jumping out, flying down to the ground.
Well, that's the best place to be.
It is. But in the interim, how about we listen to some mysterious sounds?
I love mysterious sounds. I'm super ready.
Best sounds. All the sounds.
Yes.
You won last time, I believe.
That's because I'm the wiener.
You won last year. Ha ha.
Oh man,
it's
been since last year since we've had one of these episodes.
Yeah, crazy business. So I'll go ahead and I guess I'll go first. Meaning,
no.
When I say I'll go first, I don't know if that means I'm going to be the one to receive sound, or if I'm going to be the one to play sound for.
Do you want to give or receive?
I'm feeling in a giving mood right now. So
I need an adult.
Help, adult, please. Okay, so here is my mystery sound number 1.
Noises?
Did you hear things?
No, I didn't hear things.
You didn't hear things?
No.
Well, I did play it, so I mean, everybody else heard it.
Maybe.
So go ahead. Try and guess.
Try to guess it. It's from a game that I may or may not have played.
Oh my goodness, you're right. It is from a game.
Ding, ding, ding.
Ding, ding, ding. You're correct. Good job.
I wouldn't even be able to hear that if you pressed it.
No, that's...
Ding, ding, ding.
Okay, here we go. Let's try this again.
Okay, that's totally from Bastion.
Okay. Yes, it is totally from Bastion, and I'm glad you heard it that time.
No, I didn't hear it, but I knew it was from Bastion. Ding, ding, ding.
Yep, you're correct. Well done. A+. That was a good game. That's one of the ones that I want to kind of go back and play at some point.
Oh, yeah, totally. Such a
Speaking
good game.
of like, well, not open world, but like interactivity.
Oh, yeah.
Playing through... So Bastion is a 2D top-down kind of like action platformer. How would you describe it? Indie game, whatever.
Action RPG? I don't know.
Okay.
Something like that.
But one of the really cool aspects about it is that as you're playing the game and you do things, the like really awesome narrator voice narrates what's happening. So
his
like,
voice is like melted butter, like just delicious.
Yeah, it's great. But So yeah, so like you're playing the game, you do a thing, you get to an area, and like the story unfolds while you're playing, and it's through this narration that just feels very authentic and like real, and
it just draws you into the game so much.
It does, and it doesn't ever interrupt from the gameplay. You don't miss a beat. It just keeps going, and you're like, what happens next? To hear the rest of the story, I must keep playing, and it's cool. It's really well done. So,
oh yeah, definitely one of my favorite games.
Yep, Bastion, GG.
Are you Bastion it? Don't you be Bastion it? It's one of my favorite games.
Yeah. Okay.
That was kind of terrible.
All right.
I'm sorry.
Here.
I apologize to the internet void for that one.
All right.
I'm sorry, Elder God.
Yep.
The eldritch internet void gods.
Here is yours. And that is 100% from Minecraft.
Wrong. No, ding, ding, ding.
I think that that's fitting considering our conversation topic.
Oh yeah, I mean, I definitely expected you to get that right away.
Yeah, that's
something we didn't even really talk about was just music. And how much that plays an immersive role. You know, and that was actually from some of the like early days of Minecraft too.
Yeah, I think that we just at some point down the road we'll have an episode about immersion, because there's a lot that I could talk about.
Oh yeah, totally.
And I think a lot of the immersion discussion kind of ties into open world gaming and whatnot, but it's definitely a very in-depth conversation and something I'm very passionate about with gaming.
Right, but it's applicable to all types of games, not just open world games.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, the music in Minecraft was one of those nice things that it was weird because the game is silent outside of like sound effects. And so when you got a music track, it was very impactful because you're like, yeah, music, yeah. And I mean, you could have iTunes or whatever the heck you want playing in the background, but I never did because I was just like, I want to play Minecraft.
So peaceful.
And I want to have music. Like, yeah.
Even with like, you know, the zombies and skeletons, but the fact that, you know, you were kind of just exploring, going, looking for whatever resources you were looking for. And then like, you know, it's raining maybe. And then suddenly just like this really like peaceful music just like drifts up into your consciousness. And it's amazing. Like, I think that was some of my favorite Minecraft moments early on playing the game.
Getting music. Definitely.
Get music, get dirt. Yeah. Got dirt?
No, you needed cobblestone. You never finished that castle.
Got stone? No, I didn't. And I never will.
I still have the world.
I guess maybe I could. It was going to be a pretty cool castle. It just was massive. Maybe we should just finish it in creative mode, opposed to actually collecting all the fucking cobblestone. Because that's honestly why I like got so burned out on Minecraft, is because I actually was trying to do that fucking castle. So many mistakes. So many mistakes.
I think what we could do. Talking about Minecraft has made me kind of want to go back and try and play it. I think we could find a nice balance, because I do enjoy every now and then going and like collecting materials for certain things and for building projects. But like, if you're trying to build a castle, like maybe build it in survival mode so you have some of the limitations and some of the challenge that goes into building. But like, just have infinite cobblestone. Like for something that just repetitive and whatnot, I think that we could definitely kind of find a balance where we get some of the fun survival exploring, but we could be like, here's a good spot for a castle. Let's like pop into creative, build the framework of the castle, and then like for the interior we can, you know, collect the wood or whatever else we want.
I mean, I could have just made a cobblestone generator, but I didn't know how to do that at that point.
Yeah, that's fine. But yeah, it just, I think that it might be something that could be cool to try again later and kind of strike a balance between the two, where we don't have to worry so much about like necessarily holding up and making a place, or we don't also have to worry about like completing the game, but just like do what is fun.
Because building is super fun, and like building cool houses here and there.
And I think that it could be kind of a nice incentive to be like, okay, well, we need some of this kind of wood. Let's go and search for this kind of tree. And then, but if we need,
once we found it, like give ourselves enough of it, kind of thing.
Yeah, or you know, just find some sort of reasonable balance. Well, and I think when we played, I did that with experience.
Yeah, like again, subverting the game mechanics for the purpose of immersion.
Or just fun and enjoyability. Because I know when you were working on that castle, you were like, okay, I finished a tower. I'm like, have 1,000 experience points. Like, you finished something. Good for you. But
fuck, that took so long. I think I got like most of the outer wall done, actually. It was the inner keep that I was working on next.
Well, we could definitely go back and look at it. I wonder how messed up that world will be, because that was way like,
yeah,
that was pre-official release even, I think, when we started that world.
Oh yeah, because remember there were some like changes to the world generation that happened partway through, because when we started pushing new chunks, there was this like massive like rift in the world.
Yeah, where there was ocean suddenly.
Suddenly ocean.
Yeah.
Oh, and I totally built a cabin out there. I built so much cool stuff in that world. We both did. Like,
that's why I still have it.
Oh yeah, because we had that like glass train station and like the Reed farm and a whole bunch of other cool stuff.
The Reed base was legit.
And the visitors lodge. Got assaulted by creepers on numerous occasions, I recall.
Your initial like house.
Oh yes,
was always assaulted by creepers.
And then you built an annoyance machine outside my door.
Yeah, to drive away the creepers. Which was
but then eventually we connected our bases with the minecarts. You also spawned us the like powered rails, I'm pretty sure.
Oh yes, I did. That definitely. Again, one of those things, like, we wanted a train. We were not going to farm all of that gold. That's absurd. Anyway, I have a sound effect for you. This one. Good luck. Really loud. I apologize.
It's an explosion. Because I haven't played like 10,000 million bajillion games with an explosion in it.
Yes, but this is a very specific explosion. Was that like painfully?
Oh, okay, sure.
Was that painfully loud for you?
Sure, it's a very specific explosion. Yeah, kind of. But do you want to play it again, please?
Yes, I will. I didn't volume correct this one.
Also, you're a jerk.
I know.
I don't fucking know. It's an explosion.
This is from a game that you were just playing earlier today.
Oh, is it the goal explosion from Rocket League?
It is. I was trying to find a better like sound effect that didn't have just like, I didn't have time to go and record something in game because I'm lazy, but like to find one that had like the explosion and like the horns or something after it. So it was sort of like not as ideal as it could have been, but
yeah, you suck. I'm just kidding. Ding, ding, ding.
That's fine.
Yeah.
You got it. Good enough.
I mean, you gave me a pretty good hint, but
yeah, because I knew as soon as like I found it and I was like, oh, this will be great. And then we were getting ready to start recording and I was like, oh, this is going to be terrible. So I was just sort of whatever, reckless abandon. Anyway, I'll play your mystery clip sound number 2. Die? Did that say die?
I think so. Actually said die cur, I think.
So it was a sword unsheathing and swinging of a sword.
Shing-a-ling-a-ling.
The sword sheathing and unsheathing definitely sounded like Skyrim or Oblivion.
I mean, I definitely think you'd be getting pretty warm.
Is it from Skyrim?
Nope.
Is it from Oblivion?
Yes.
Okay. Well, the thing that threw me off, what was the monster sound in there?
The scamps.
Oh, okay. I pictured a goblin something, but I couldn't quite place it.
Yeah, it was actually from like the Kvatch battle area.
Gotcha.
Ding, ding, ding.
Well, cool. Why, did you just like specifically tune your things to fit the discussion today?
Yeah, kind of. I didn't really know what to think of. But the last one isn't related to today's discussion, so it's
I don't remember what my last one is, so here you go, have fun.
Okay, that's from Kirby Air Ride.
Really?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Wait, no, is that from Smash then?
Yes.
But is it a Kirby level?
No.
I have no idea then. What the hell? Brain, why you no work?
It is. Do you want a clue or do you want to?
Yes.
So we played on this stage a lot, usually without any items.
I mean,
We usually played without items, didn't we?
I think so. I mean, we played on Final Destination a lot, but I don't think that's the Final Destination music.
Maybe it is.
Is
Maybe
it?
It is. Yes, it is.
Oh, well, I guess, screw me.
Well, I'll give you a mer for that. Just because.
If I said no, it's not this one.
I think that kind of counts as.
Yeah, that counts as no.
Yeah, no, it's definitely Final Destination from Melee.
Derp-a-derp.
Which clearly that means we need to play more Smash.
Yeah. It's literally been years for me, so.
That's fair.
And also sad. So sad.
Would it have been more iconic if I had picked the Hyrule Temple music?
Probably.
Okay. I was like, I knew that those were the two stages we played the most, and I just went with Final Destination.
Man, I remember I had to have been like 7 or 8 the first time I played Smash 64.
Did you, when we first met, did I already have my N64?
I think so, but I think you just had like only Pokemon Snap and like Pokemon Stadium or something.
Okay.
Because I remember, you had that Pikachu 64.
Yeah. Hey, you, Pikachu.
Was there a different 64 that you had at some point?
No.
Okay.
I still have the Pikachu one. It's sitting behind me.
Hey, you, Pikachu.
That was an interesting game that I might talk about at some point. Okay. And your last sound. Oh, that is so awesome. It really, I was like, I know this. What is this from? Was that from Blitz?
Yep.
Yes. The only reason I remembered that was because of playing the arcade Blitz, like with my dad. Did you ever, the arcade that we had, the space station, did you ever go there, or did we ever go there with you?
I'm not sure.
Because that was where I first played Blitz, was on like an actual arcade machine there. Arcade machine. But, like, I remember like the sound effect when you would like pick the team, and it would be like that metallic like noise.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
with that music in the background.
Yeah, that was the menu music from Blitz 2000.
That was a pretty entertaining and ridiculous game, man.
Yep. All the ridiculous. So you definitely get a ding, ding, ding for that one. Ding, ding, ding.
Huzzah. Also, you know what that means? That I win.
You do? What was the score?
I believe I got all of yours, and you missed the last one, and I gave you the second one because I'm a bad.
Oh, yeah. So I suck. Does that mean I have to make mouth noises?
Yes. That was actually really good.
Yeah,
I'm impressed.
good. Such the adjective to describe that situation. Good.
Yeah.
So good.
That's what I would call it. What would you call it? Pasta?
Fettuccine.
Alfredo. Rigatoni.
Isn't it rigatoni?
So anyway, this has been Tune Into Gaming. Hey, if you're interested in all things gaming related.
I mean, not really all things, kind of some things.
Some things. Okay. If you're a fan of some very specific niches of game related things, and also Just Cause, or, whatever, if you just want to talk to us, hit us up on Twitter at tuneintogaming, or email us tuneintogaming@gmail.com. We've also been doing a pretty good job of streaming lately. So if you're into that, you can check out either of our Twitch channels, North Kozar on Twitch or Quactical on Twitch.
Quack, quack.
And then I've started uploading YouTube videos from highlights of my streams. They'll be going up weekly every Thursday. If you're into that kind of thing as well, it's pretty cool. Even if I do say so myself, which I am saying myself, but
you're mostly just talking to yourself, in fact.
Hey, you're here, aren't you? That counts.
I mean, tangentially.
It counts for me. It's subjective. I say it counts. I think that's it. I think we're good.
Well, anyway, good night, sweet internet void. It has been a pleasure experiencing this podcast with you on this evening. Well, it may not necessarily be an evening, but it's an evening in my heart.
That's cute.
Too cute. Anyway, with that, we shall tune out.
Fair.